What's going on? You're live. I love going live. It's absolutely great. I'm live on TikTok now too. I've never been live on TikTok. Look at that. A little bit late. I had to get my uncle's for Christmas, and yeah, that's fine for TikTok there. Actually, let's do that a little bit. Let's do like this. StreamYard lets me go live on 3 different things. Yeah, that's good for TikTok. All right, cool. So hope everyone had a good holiday season, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you are doing. Today I want to talk about, and yeah, again, I was late because there's no excuses. I need to be on time. I need to value your time better. But I had to get my camera set up and all these things. But today we're going into breaking limiting beliefs. So the Built for Impact program, I am working on all the modules right now. And again, this is something I've been working on for the past 8 months, 7-8 months. And Built for Impact is really a program. It's a way of life. And it is a method that you can use to reprogram your identity so you can build a life from peace instead of pressure. That is the essence. That is the essence of all of Built for Impact. Like, how do we create a life from peace instead of pressure? I feel like we're all just forcing and trying, and everyone's trying so hard. Everyone's so hard on themselves, I think, for the most part. Yeah, you do have people that are kind of lazy and need to figure it out. But for the most part, people who are following me and people who are tuning into this, you probably do the most. You're just doing so much, right? And you're so hard on yourselves. And there's just a better way. There's a better way to live, because I lived that way for 3 years and it's miserable. No one wants to live like that. No one wants to live in constant fear and pressure, and you're going to bed with a pit in your stomach and you're waking up with a pit in your stomach. And it's really no way to live. So the start of all that, though, is breaking your limiting beliefs about what's possible. And again, this flywheel of Built for Impact, if you go on my Facebook or LinkedIn, you'll see the 2 graphics. You'll see Built for Impact, each of the 5 pillars, what they each mean. It describes them. Actually, my first live is going over that graphic. My first live, if you look on YouTube. And then how to apply it to your life. So what it means, how to apply it to your life. But the first part of that flywheel is breaking limiting beliefs. And we're doing this all the time. I'm doing this all the time. Every single moment of every single day, every single week, I am always questioning the beliefs that I believe are holding me back. Whether it's about getting to the next level in the wholesale business, or it's getting to the next level in Built for Impact and growing this, or it's stepping into a new version of myself on social media. Where are my beliefs holding me back? Because we can change that. Everything downstream starts to change and fall into effect. What we're talking about at the basis of all of this is identity, right? Identity change. And one of the best books I've ever read is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And he talks about identity change as the foundational pillar for success or changing, right? So everything flows downstream of changing who you believe yourself to be and how you act and all those things. So there's layers to that, and the Built framework will walk you through all that. But I want to talk today about break limiting beliefs, okay? So a couple different things in here. Once I get the program fully built out, there's basically 4 videos, 4 lessons. They go deeper into this stuff, but I'm going to kind of hit on it surface level here. And that is, the first thing is that you are not your thoughts or emotions. That's the most foundational thing to understand about all this, okay? And Michael Singer talks about it in his book, The Untethered Soul, The Surrender Experiment, Living Untethered, The Art of Letting Go. And this is an ancient practice. Buddhism, all these traditions talk about it, but you are not your thoughts, your emotions. What does that mean? It means that when a negative belief comes up, or an emotion, anger, sadness, guilt, frustration, unworthiness, lack, you are not those emotions. How do I know that? Because how are you identifying that who is the person inside of you that's aware that it's a negative thought, or that is aware that you're angry, or is aware that you're guilty? That is your awareness. That is what Michael Singer would call your seat of self. So when you're able to create this separation between the thoughts that come into your mind and the emotions that come into your mind, you're then able to take control over your life. That's the biggest thing, because you understand that, hey, this negative thought that just came in that I can't close this deal, or I can't go out and be good at networking, or I can't build a business, or I can't hop on social media. That's not true unless you choose to put energy and attention behind it. Okay. The second thing I'm talking about here is that everything is energy. That's foundational. Those 2 things paired together are incredibly important to understand. Because when you understand that everything is energy at the quantum level, right? The quantum field of energy beyond space and time. That means that our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy, and whatever we're putting our awareness on, as Tony Robbins would say, where your attention goes, energy flows. And wherever your energy flows, that creates reality. How does that create reality? There's this thing called the observer effect in quantum physics. And what that states is that when awareness is placed on a potential future outcome, that outcome begins to collapse into physical matter. They did this. They did this at the smallest level, at the subatomic level. They would observe a particle, right, or an atom, whatever it was, right? And the electrons around that particle would be in all places at once until someone observed it and it would collapse into form. So if that happens at the smallest level, and we are made up of these atoms, and here's the other thing to note is an atom or a subatomic particle is 99.9999999% energy, 0.0000001% matter. So at the smallest level subatomic particle, everything is energy, and we're made up of those things, right? Joe Dispenza talks about it like that subatomic particle creates a molecule, creates a cell, creates an organism, creates like our nervous system, and then creates basically our body. So we are mainly energy, right? And if what we put our attention on collapses into form, and we know that we are not our thoughts or our emotions, this is an extremely powerful thing. Because then you can choose to put your attention and your awareness and your energy towards things that you want to happen, towards beliefs that support who you're becoming, or towards the emotions that you want to feel. So when we talk about thoughts, I know I'm kind of throwing emotions here, but you are not your thoughts. Okay, when you have a limiting belief come up about, you'll never make it, or you're not cut out for this, or, the social media is not working yet, it's going to be tough to keep going, you're not like the other people, whatever those limiting beliefs are, you can decide to let those thoughts go because they don't serve who you're becoming, right? That's it. Just let them go and choose to put your attention and your focus on thoughts that support who you're becoming, that support the identity that you want to become. And and the more that you put your awareness and you put your energy and your creative power on this thought that supports who you're becoming, the more you begin to collapse that into your environment. Now, breaking that down, how does that collapse into your environment? In a very tactical way, when you change your thoughts about something, right? You're kind of changing your belief about something that drives different emotions, which influences different behaviors, which determines different actions, which ultimately creates different results. That's the biggest thing, right? So it's that whole life loop, which I talk about in the Upgrading Your Operating System. It's thoughts, create emotions, drive behaviors, determine actions, create results. So it's not this woo-woo thing. It's like when you start to think different thoughts, it changes the whole life loop and ultimately all of your results. So if I start thinking like, yes, I can do this social media. Yes, I can build this wholesale business. Yes, I can build new relationships. I can go make friends. I can have loving relationships. I can be healthy. I can go to the gym. That belief and that thought changes everything. Then you have different emotions. Like, yes, I can go to the gym. I can get in shape. And then you start to feel excited. You start to feel empowered. And what is that emotion going to do? It's going to drive different behavior. You're going to actually want to go to the gym, right? You're going to take different actions. You're actually at the gym. You're doing reps all because you thought differently. And then ultimately, if you keep doing that, what happens? You get different results. So that's how thoughts, because their energy, change everything. And that's really how, talk about the observer effect. When you put your awareness on a potential future outcome, it begins to collapse into reality. How does that happen? Because you tap into that thought or that energy of the event, and it's going to give you different emotions, which drives different behaviors, different actions, and ultimately different results. So you are not your thoughts or emotions, and everything is energy. Two fundamental concepts to understand there. And you're not your emotions either, okay? As long as you're identifying as I am angry, I am sad, I am guilty, guess what? You are those things, but you're not. You're the person experiencing anger. That's the only thing you need to, and it's a muscle. This muscle, it's like a muscle of letting go. You learn how to let go on all of these things. Or you learn how to let go. The more you can be the awareness that understands like, oh, there's the anger. I want you to think about yourself like the sky. This is like a really good example. The sky, okay? The sky never forces the clouds, right? So think about a storm coming through. The sky's like, oh, there's the storm. Yep, nice. The storm right there, and there it goes. Same thing with your awareness. Your awareness is the sky. So a negative thought comes in. Oh, wow, yep, there's a super negative thought. That's limiting. All right, great. We're just going to let that pass right on through. And you just let it go. But the problem is we cling to these negative thoughts and we think that they're true. We think that these are the reality. And now because you believe that, because everything is energy, and because whatever you put your energy, your attention on, you're putting energy towards and creating, that's what you're getting. So understand that your thoughts are not true, right? Believe the ones that are supporting who you want to become. That's like the biggest thing to understand. Well, a lot of it's the biggest thing to understand. I'm always talking about a lot of things, but anyways, so look at a little fatness. It's all right. We don't care about that though. I had a social media post the other day where I was like, how much time do we spend worrying about the little stuff, right? Oh, I look a little pudgy in this picture. My beard doesn't look right. My hat's got a stain on it. Like, how much time do we waste worrying about that? It's like really ruining our lives. Okay. Third thing is change your paradigm, change your life. What is a paradigm? Well, paradigm is, we used to think we couldn't run the 4-minute mile. Like, people thought it was physiologically impossible to run under a 4-minute mile. What happened? Roger Bannister did it. And then what happened? Everyone started breaking the 4-minute mile. Did everyone magically just get that much stronger and that much more capable? No, it was a mental block. That shows you the power of belief. People believed that they could not run under a 4-minute mile. So their bodies literally would not let them run under a 4-minute mile. That's what it was. And then as soon as someone broke that, and then people, oh, wow, you actually can run under a 4-minute mile. Everything changed. People's biology changed. People's physiology changed. People were freaking cranking the 4-minute mile. They were running under the 4-minute mile because they believed differently. That was literally it. So I need you all to change your paradigms about this stuff. What is your beliefs about the world? What beliefs about the world do you have that just may not be so, that just may not be true? But you got to be open to that. You got to go into things with a glass half full or a quarter full, right? Not a quarter full, 3/4 full. Leave a little bit of room in the top of your glass. You could always be, consuming different information, toying around with different ideas, all for the purpose of what? Living a better life. All for the purpose of building a life, a business, relationships, a body from peace instead of pressure. That is the goal. Build from peace instead of pressure, because life is an infinite game. It is an infinite game. It doesn't matter what destinations you get to. The goalpost always going to move. It's always going to move. You're going to get there, and you're going to get to the next goalpost, and you're going to want to do it again and again and again. And if you keep tying your internal worth to what you're getting, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be content. You're never going to be fulfilled. You're never going to feel love. You're never going to feel any of those things, because it's always out of your reach. It's always just out of your reach. It's at that next destination, right? That next goalpost. So understand that you need to go into these teachings when you're and try to get past words like God and manifestation that may block you off to certain concepts. Okay. And that was the way I was for a long time. Like, I hear the word God, I'd be like, or I hear the word Jesus, I would just completely shut it out of my brain, because whatever my existing belief patterns about Jesus or God were really limited me from understanding the information. Because there's actually like a lot of good stuff in the Bible, or that the Buddha talks about, or XYZ. But if I have this mental block about God being this guy in the sky, not the guy in the sky, and I don't think he's real, and this is all BS, I'm not going to be open to some potential truth that's in the Bible or whatever text. I'm not part of any religion, but I'm just saying you're closing yourself off by looking at things in a certain way, right? So be open to changing your paradigm, okay? And life really reflects itself back to you through your paradigm. And speaking in terms of neuroscience, a big part of this is your reticular activating system. So your reticular activating system is the part of your brain that filters for what you believe in. So a good example is you buy a new car. Say you buy a new Mercedes. That's what we all want. Buy a new Benz, right? And you never really saw a lot of Mercedes on the road. So say you bought the Mercedes E400, right? You bought the Mercedes E400. Finally got the car. You never saw that car on the road before, really, but it was always there. The second you got that car, you start seeing that car everywhere. You're driving down the road, all you can see is Mercedes-Benz E400. They're everywhere. Why? Because that's what you were aware of. You're now aware of this car. So now, boom, it just shows up everywhere else in your world. And you might have felt the same thing about maybe you buy a new jacket or you buy something and you've never seen it before. Or maybe like melon. I bought these melon hats. All of a sudden, everyone's wearing a melon hat. Everyone was already wearing melon hats. They're already in my environment, but my brain wasn't picking up on it because I wasn't focused on it. It wasn't in my field of awareness. Why is this important for changing your identity and becoming who you want to become? Because whatever you believe, your world's going to reflect back to you. So if you wake up and say, today's going to be difficult, today's going to be super hard, right? It's going to be a struggle. Well, guess what's going to happen? Your reticular activating system in your brain is going to filter for every bit of data that it can possibly find today to support your belief system of it's going to be hard, it's difficult, it never works out for me. That's what happens. It's going to filter for that. So it's going to, maybe you're going through the drive-through at Starbucks. It's going to filter for anything it can find to show how things are not working out in your favor, even though there might be a lot of things that are working out in your favor. Maybe you pulled up to the drive-through and there's no one in the line, but maybe they messed up your order a little bit. What's your brain going to focus on? The order getting messed up, because it's supporting your belief system that nothing works out in my favor. Whereas if you had a different belief system and you were talking about, or a different belief system and you believe that, hey, everything always works out in my favor, same situation. You drive to Starbucks and maybe they get your order wrong, but there's no one in the line. So what is your brain going to focus on? Oh, there was no one in the line. Well, that's so great. Everything always works out in my favor, right? So it's focusing on the things that are good versus bad. So that's your paradigm. So whatever your paradigm is about life, I can do this. I can't do this. This is hard. I have to work hard for money. This never works out for me. You know, I'm not meant for this. Your world is reflecting that back to you. So change your paradigm, change your life. Also a really good book by Bob Proctor, if you want to check it out. Bob Proctor, he is the GOAT. Change your paradigm, change your life. All right. You know, it's really bugging me that this TikTok camera is kind of tilted. That's okay. I'm not going to let these things worry us. It's my OCD a little bit. Not that it matters. No one cares. Literally no one cares if the camera's tilted. Hey. A lot of TikTokers joining in there. It's my first TikTok live. Let me know how I'm doing. Interesting. All right, so second thing we're going to get into, that's kind of the foundations of belief right there, okay? Understanding you are not your thoughts or emotions. Everything is energy. Change your paradigm, change your life. That is foundation. That's lesson one. So we'll get into, I have a whole presentation. We're going to get into it in a deep dive with the Built for Impact program that's coming out, and it'll be in school and all that stuff. So next thing we got is the programming of the mind. So let me just see here. We got subconscious mind, beliefs, repeated identities. Okay. So next thing I understand is like your subconscious mind. What is your subconscious mind? Your subconscious mind, took me a while to really unpack. So there's a really good book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. If you want to look at that. But your subconscious mind is like the stored set of behaviors, actions, thoughts, beliefs, emotions in your body. It's what you believe to be true, right? I think a lot of us think that, we think that just because we believe that it's true, it's the truth of the world. And that is inherently false. That's a slippery slope. Just because you believe it's true doesn't mean it's the truth of the world. It doesn't mean it's the highest truth. So just because you believe that you have to work hard in entrepreneurship to build a really big business, and maybe everyone tells you that, but that might not be the actual truth of the world. What if you want to believe something else? What if you choose to believe a different reality? So your subconscious beliefs, a lot of your subconscious beliefs are programmed when you are a kid, right? From 0 to 7 years old. Why is this? You have 4 brainwave states, okay? You have beta brainwave states, beta, alpha, beta, and delta. So there's 3 levels of beta brainwave. You have mid-level beta, which is right now. I'm engaging in this. Maybe you have a little bit of what they would call eustress, like healthy stress. Like I get on the live, maybe I got some butterflies in my stomach, getting excited about it. Or maybe you're in a meetup and you got to remember people's names. You are in mid-level beta. Low-level beta is when you're a little bit more relaxed. Maybe you're like watching a presentation, or you're watching a show, or you're just a little bit more relaxed, but you're still kind of there. You still have to engage. High level beta is like stress. You don't want to be in stress. That's like the fight or flight nervous system. You're in stress. High level beta brain waves. Your body's like gearing up to fight or flight, or like, you're trying to protect your livelihood. So that's, those are the three levels of beta. Then you have alpha. Alpha is the bridge between the conscious and subconscious mind. And alpha is like kind of when you're dozing off, you start to get a little less analytical, because the conscious mind only runs 5% of your daily actions. So then you have the alpha brainwave state, which is like, you might be like staring off into distance. Theta is like deep meditation. Alpha is kind of a meditative state. Theta, you're in deep meditation. That means your body's completely asleep, but your mind is still awake. And then delta is deep sleep. Now, when you're a kid, 0 to 7 years old, guess what? You are in pure theta brainwave states, meaning your analytical mind hasn't even formed. It doesn't even form until ages 9 to 12. So that means every single event that you're taking in from your environment, your parents, from school, from TV, from iPads, from social media, anything that you're taking in from 0 to 7, 8 is just straight downloading into your head like a computer program. You have no analytical mind to be able to filter the information coming in. You're not saying, oh, my dad thinks that, we don't have a lot of resources. My dad thinks that it's hard to make money. You're going to believe that is inherently true. You're not going to have the mind to think, well, what if it wasn't that way? What if I could, build a life from peace, and I could take the actions every day, and I could be consistent, and it could be an easy, enjoyable process. You're not thinking that at 0 to 7, right? You're just taking in everything. So by the time we get and then into adulthood, we have these certain beliefs and these certain programs and behaviors, and we don't even know why, right? We just think it's the way we are. No, it's because that's how we are programmed from a young age, right? And now, what do I mean that 5% of your life is run by your conscious mind? What does that mean? Well, your conscious mind is like right now, you are conscious that you are watching this video. You're conscious that you're watching this video. As soon as you, maybe I'm talking and your head goes somewhere else, right? You're kind of going unconscious now. You're here, but you're not here, right? And this is important because if our subconscious program is that I have to be scared of things, I have to run around in fear, I have to force, I have to work really, really hard everything I do, or I'm not worthy of success. If that's what your beliefs are, in the moment, you could be like, yep, I'm gonna really be more at peace on a day-to-day basis. I'm gonna be grateful. Okay. I'm gonna be loving. But if your subconscious beliefs are I have to force and I have to cut people out, you can't trust anyone. The second you stop consciously thinking about wanting to be grateful, what happens? The subconscious programs, what's stored in your body, is going to kick up, and you're going to start thinking fearful thoughts again and start getting into the old version of yourself. So you have to reprogram your subconscious mind. Okay. Subconscious mind is like, what are the examples I had in here? I had, so like driving is one. It's like say you're driving down the highway. It's happened to me all the time. You're driving down the highway. You're thinking about something else. You've driven like 3 exits. You've gotten off the exit, blah, blah, blah. You've done all these things. You're like, holy crap, I haven't even been paying attention to the fact that I'm driving right now. Like, this is super dangerous. But that's the subconscious mind. Your body is already programmed and understands exactly how to drive a car and get to where you want to go. So all you have to do is be like, I want to get to my friend Jack's house. And if you've gone there multiple times, your body will just take you there. You don't even have to consciously think about going to Jack's. You can be thinking about other things, listening to a podcast, listening to the radio, and your body will just take you there, right? Same thing too. Like, say you're used to going to the gym in the morning every single day, and now I want to go to the golf course, say on the weekend. I get in the car, start driving towards the golf course, and what happens? I'm listening to a podcast. I'm not thinking. My body's just programmed to go to the gym every morning. Woo, I take that right to go to the gym. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to the golf course. That's what happens. Those subconscious programs. So in order to reprogram, so the whole thing is like, we need to reprogram our subconscious mind. That's our operating system, but it starts with the thought. To understand that your thoughts are the gatekeeper, your conscious mind. Your conscious mind decides, what are you going to accept into your subconscious? What are you going to believe as true? What habits do you want to build? It's the gatekeeper. So now that you know, so a lot of the work is unraveling all the program that's limiting you. That's part of it. And the second part is, now you're not your thoughts or emotions. Only put energy towards thoughts and beliefs that become who you want, that are in alignment with who you want to become. That's like a huge part of it. And the other part of reprogramming your subconscious, you look at Joe Dispenza, your body has to be in a relaxed state. Because how did your body get programmed in the first place? It was in a relaxed state. That's when it's open and receptive. That's why meditation is a huge thing. in slowing your brainwave states down. So when you're in this beta brainwaves, which you don't even have 0 to 7 years old, beta brainwaves, again, it's analytical mind. It's like your conscious mind. You can determine what you believe to be true, what you don't believe to be true. You need to get beyond that, because that analytical mind is running on the old program. It's running on the old program. It's running on whatever your previous beliefs are. So as long as you're in those previous beliefs, it's going to be hard to imagine this new future where those things don't exist. So we need to get below the analytical mind, slow our brainwave states down, use the breath, breathe slowly. Joe Dispenza talks about convergent versus divergent awareness. When you're in your meditations, convergent awareness is like you're focused on these specific things. Divergent awareness is like you are just focused on the space around you. And there's studies that show that divergent thinking slows your state of your brainwaves down, right? So all that to be said, that's a whole deep rabbit hole we can go into, but reprogramming your subconscious mind is huge, massive thing. I'll leave it there. I could talk about this stuff for hours. So what is a belief though? Belief is really just a thought. It's a repeated thought with emotion. That's all it is. It's a thought that kept coming into your environment. I want you to think about thoughts as these things that are just floating around out there, okay? They're floating around out there and they just come into your environment, okay? And we think that they're truths, but they're really just like objects out there floating around. And as they kind of say it's like a thought's out here, and then as soon as it gets here into your brain, like you're aware of it, and you can either choose to let that thought go, or you can choose to put energy towards that thought and make it real. But it's just a thought that kept coming up, and a lot of times you're programmed. So your program's going to dictate a lot of the thoughts that you think. That's why it's like fighting uphill battle, trying to change it first, because your conditioning is like, oh, I am not worthy of success, or I need to operate in fear, or I need to operate from pressure, I need to force, I need to strain. So when you're trying to operate more at peace, but your subconscious programming is I need to struggle and force and pressure, that's the stuff that just keeps coming up. So it's like, it's an uphill battle. That's why reprogramming the subconscious, meditating and doing those things is vitally important. But a belief is just a thought repeated with emotion. So a thought alone doesn't become a belief. Emotion is what makes it real. Emotion is what stores it in the body. Joe Dispenza says that an emotion is a record of the past, basically. So a past experience. Past experience happens. It creates an emotion and it gets stored in the body. And that's part of like how your subconscious is built. It's just a thought. That's all a belief is. It's a thought that you kept thinking over and over and over and over and over again. You kept getting emotional about until you believed it was true. So the same, if you want to reprogram that, you do the same thing. It's just the opposite. It's a conscious choice every day. Okay, what's the new thought? I can operate from a state of peace every day. I don't need to be rushing around. Maybe the belief is that I never have enough time. Okay, well, if you want to create a new belief that you always have enough time because everything's always working out for you, that's a new thought you have to think. You have to feel the emotion of what does it feel like to be at peace? Let me just sit down and feel that for a second. Right? What does it feel like to be at peace? And you start to reprogram. And I like to use the analogy, it's like a drop in the bucket. Every time that you choose the new thought with the new emotion, you're programming the body, programming the body, programming the body. Now it's a drop in the bucket. What does that mean? Well, your bucket right now is filled with a bunch of murky, crappy water. So it's going to take you a little bit to put the drops in there and refill the bucket with new, clearer water. Okay? So we got to think new thoughts, new emotions, program the body. Now, when you think a thought, it signals neural transmitters in your brain, right? Certain neural connections, pathways, and it releases a chemical to your body to feel the corresponding emotion. So, right, a thought comes in, you choose to put your awareness on it. You're firing, what do you call it? Not neural connections. It's like neural, not neural compartments. It's something neural. But there's like certain neural compartments in your brain for each thing in your life, like for your spouse and for your job and for how you feel about this and how you feel about that. It's a neural cluster, basically a cluster of neurons. There's a word for it. It's going to come to me. And it activates every time you think about that thing. Every time you think about that thing, there's a corresponding emotion tied to it. So you think about it, neuropeptides are released through your blood stream, which are like the molecules of emotion that then go latch onto hormones in the body and make you feel an emotion. So that's the chemistry of thought and emotion. Thought triggers, neuropeptides released, sent to your body, makes you feel emotion. So you're programming your body with that motion every time. So if you tie building a business with the fear of stress, those two things are linked together. So in your brain, every time you think about the business, what's being triggered? The molecule of stress, boom. Because maybe you were stressed out about business one time. So now your subconscious programming likens business to stress. Every time you think about business, what happens? Stress chemicals are sent to your body, and you're just programming your body. You're like conditioning your body for stress chemicals and to compare business to stress. So to undo that, hey, business can be peaceful. Business can be peaceful. So you have to, do the work to be like, every time you think about business, you feel peace. So that's the difference. And think about the power of belief, okay? Think about the placebo. That's all you need to know, okay? That's all you need to know is that people will be given a legit sugar pill, okay? It's not even a real thing. And they're like, yeah, I don't have a headache. Yeah, I don't feel pain anymore. You didn't even get the real drug. You didn't even get it. It's a fake pill. So that just goes to show you the power of your belief. We already talked about breaking the 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister, that shows you the power of belief because they didn't believe that they could run under a 4-minute mile. So their bodies physiologically would not let them run under a 4-minute mile. And then you do the placebo, you give people a fake sugar pill and they're healed because they believe. And that's like this new frontier of science is the study of consciousness. Now, does anyone know where consciousness comes from? Not really, but it's like consciousness and belief literally shapes biology. That's what the study of epigenetics is, though. The study that your environment, your thoughts, your emotions influence gene expression, okay? Not DNA expression, but gene expression, meaning you have cancer, you have these things. A lot of times that's from your environment, the thoughts you've been thinking, the emotions you've been thinking, the stress that you've had that's manifested itself in this form of whatever, this disformity in your body. But epigenetics shows us that these things aren't inherent in who we are. Like, oh, my family, my mom had cancer, so I'm going to have cancer. No, that's not how it works, right? Because genes need to be signaled in certain ways to trigger that cancer to appear. So a gene can exist in two forms, or like its upregulated version or its downregulated version. So if you consistently are downregulating genes because you're living in a negative frequency, you're going to be sick a lot of the time versus a gene in its highest expression. So you can turn these genes on and off by your beliefs and your thoughts. That's what happens when people go into Joe Dispenza seminars. They literally, they had stage 4 cancer and they don't have it anymore. They've never walked before and now they can walk. They were on all these medications and, they have these autoimmune diseases and they were in a wheelchair, and after the meditation, it's all gone. They had eczema. It's all gone because of their belief, all because of belief, all because of their changing how they choose to believe and what's possible. So the beliefs are like the foundation of legitimately everything. Yeah, so that's that. I did want to touch real quick on, stop fighting for our limitations. That's a huge one. Why are we fighting for our limitations? Why are we doing that? Please tell me. Why do we do that? Like, my life is so hard, this and that. It's going to be difficult. I don't believe I can do this. I'm never going to be able to get healthy. I'm not going to be able to consistently go to the gym. Why are we fighting for our limitations? Everything's just I always feel so much pressure in everything that I do, X, Y, Z. As long as you're fighting for your limitations, you get to keep them. Congratulations. Okay. And here's the thing. I get it. Effed up things happen in your life. And I'm not saying that things that were bad, I'm not saying that these things that were bad were good. I'm saying that they absolutely were bad. They shouldn't have happened to you. There's no excuse for it. But as long as we hold on to these things, what are we doing? The other person's not suffering for it. We're suffering for it. So we have to let those things go. Stop fighting for those limitations. It's just so hard for me to get a sale, though. Sales is so hard for me. Why are you fighting for that limiting belief? Why are you fighting for that limitation? As long as you're fighting for that limitation, it's going to be more difficult. It's going to be way more difficult. So we got to figure out where are our limitations. Oh, this just never works out for me. Oh, that's difficult. It's just going to be tough. That's just the way it is for me. Why is that the way it is for you? Because you're choosing it. You're choosing it. You think that has to be your reality. Stop fighting. It's like carrying around a heavy backpack all the time. Be like, oh my gosh, this backpack is so heavy, and you're complaining about it. I just have this backpack on. I'm always carrying it around. It's just so freaking heavy. And everyone else is like, why don't you just take the backpack off? Just don't wear it, right? And it's the same thing with your limiting beliefs. Just take the backpack off. Take it off. You don't have to be walking around with those things. Choose to live in this environment where things can work out in your favor. And they will. And they will start and they will. That's the biggest thing. So how to break a belief? Just, I've kind of already touched on this before, but it's really the awareness. The awareness is the first part of it. So you have to be aware that you're having this negative belief. The awareness breaks everything else. So if you can be aware that it's coming up, that's the start, right? So you're aware of it. You question it. That's the second thing. All I want you to do is question the belief, okay? Question like, is this really true? That's all you need. I need you to plant that seed in those beliefs. Even if you believe there's no way that it could be any other way. This is how it is for me. I want you to question it. Just question it. Question that belief. And once you start to question it, at first maybe you're like, no, but then after a while, you're like, oh, maybe that could be the case. Maybe I could actually make it. Maybe actually I could start that business. Maybe I could actually get in shape. And that's all you need to know. You need to be aware that you're thinking the way that you don't want to think. Then you need to question the inherent belief. And then you want to collect counter evidence. That's huge. So if you can collect some form of counter evidence that proves that belief is false, that's going to help you out significantly. So if your belief is like, I'm not healthy, I can't be a healthy person, right? You want to, one, be aware of that thought when it comes up. Two, question the belief. Is that true that I can't be healthy? And then collect counter evidence that shows when you are an instance of when you chose a healthy option. Maybe it was something as simple as you went out the other day and you could have bought a burger, but you bought a salad, right? That shows that, hey, I can be healthy, right? So that kind of ingrains a belief in your head that you can be a healthy person by collecting that counter evidence. Or maybe you believe you're not good at sales, right? So you're aware that you're having the thought that you can't be good at sales. You are questioning it. Is that true that I can't be good at sales? And then you're collecting counter evidence. Well, I go to meetups and I talk to people super easily. I'm always helping people solve their problems. So how would that mean that I'm bad at sales? How could that line up? And then it just brings you down this rabbit hole. So after you collect counter evidence, then it's reframing it and reinforcing. So awareness, question the belief, counter evidence, reframe, reinforce. So after you click the counter evidence, then you're reframing it. Well, no, I'm not bad at sales. I'm just getting in the reps and getting really good, right? So me failing at these sales calls doesn't mean I'm bad at sales. It means that I'm putting in the reps to become really, really good. Because I have the foundations, I can talk to people and I can do the things, but I'm putting in the reps now. And then you reinforce that belief. Same thing with health. I can't be healthy. Is that true that I can't be healthy? I did buy a salad. I did buy a salad like all week this week. Like, I'm putting in the effort. I definitely can do it. So maybe when these thoughts come up that I can't be healthy, it's like, I am taking the steps every single day to become the healthiest version of myself. And that's something your brain can believe. Maybe it doesn't believe it's healthy right now, but you say, hey, I am taking the steps every single day to become the healthiest version of myself. Then you're reinforcing that. That's how you're kind of reinforcing that belief. And the last thing here is identity shift. So we talked about Built for Impact, and Built for Impact being like, the whole point of it is to reprogram your identity so that you can build a life from peace instead of pressure. But identity, and the whole thing talks about identity, but I put this in the break limiting beliefs module because it is important. It's like, you will never outperform your own identity. You never will. Like, if you believe that you are not good at sales, what's going to happen? You might get opportunities. You might get the biggest layup lead of all time. You're not going to take advantage of that lead because you don't see yourself as someone who's a good salesperson who could actually close it, even though you have the capability of doing it. So what's going to happen? That thought, right, of not being a good salesperson, that belief is going to signal an emotion of timidness and reserved and anxiety. So you're not going to jump on that lead, right? Your behavior is then reserved. You don't take the action to jump on the lead. And the result is you don't get the sale. Or maybe you do hop on the call and you're not confident in all these things. It goes back to that life loop: thought, emotion, behavior, action, result, and that result reinforces your belief. So, you'll never step out of that. Like, if I want to be a world-class speaker, but I don't see myself as that, I might get opportunities to go speak on stage and go do this and go do that. But if I still feel like I'm not ready for that, I'm going to say no. No, I can't do that. And here's the thing too, you're going to self-sabotage. What does that mean? You are going to subconsciously deny yourself that opportunity. Okay. How do you do this? You do it in a very sneaky way, actually. So you might say you want to be this world-class speaker and you get an opportunity to go speak on stage somewhere, but you're not going to say, I'm not worthy of that. That's not how that works, right? You say, well, I actually have another call I have to do. I have something with the business I need to handle on that day. So, I really want to do it, but I can't do it. So you're going to justify to yourself subconsciously why you can't go take that speaking engagement. But really, even though that's like the best opportunity you could have right now, you're trying to become a world-class speaker. Any stage you can get on to speak is freaking awesome. So, but you're not going to take that opportunity because you don't see yourself as a world-class speaker. And that is like the biggest thing. So you don't see yourself as a world-class speaker. So you're going to self-sabotage and you're not going to know it. So we need to become the person we want to be before we actually see that manifest in the physical reality. So I have this framework called the believe, behave, become framework. And basically what that is you need to believe that it's possible first. Okay. Believe that it's possible. Everything that was ever created in this universe started in someone's mind. Okay. It all started in someone's mind. The computer, the phone, the car, the plane, the microphone, whatever it is. It all started in someone's mind. Then you have to behave or believe that this person exists, right? So figure out what that identity is. Then you have to behave as that person for a period of time. You got to behave as that person when nothing in your external reality tells you otherwise. Okay. And that's the difficult part. You're like, oh, it's not working. No, it is working. And you'll notice that it's working through synchronicities, right? Things will happen that you never could have predicted. And you're like, okay, I'm on my way. But you got to behave. And then eventually you become. Believe, behave, become. All right. So believe that it's possible, behave as that person, and eventually become that person. And it makes complete logical sense. Like first, if you can't even believe that it's possible, if you can't even imagine a life where you build a business and you live in peace and you make money and do all these things, it ain't ever going to happen because you can't even conceive of it. So you got to believe it and you got to behave as that person. It makes sense. If you just behave as this person, you behave as a personal development coach, you behave as a social media influencer, you behave as an entrepreneur, eventually you're going to become that thing because you're doing the things that lead to that result. And the world's going to start to perceive you as that person the more that you behave. But you could have the courage to walk in faith and be this person when nothing in your external world, nothing in your external world reflects that. Okay. And that's the most difficult part. Like we have it backwards. We want something in our external world to tell us that we're a freaking entrepreneur or we're a world-class speaker before we've even done anything to prove that. And we're so caught up and afraid of failing and looking foolish and embarrassed. Like that's part of it. You have to. You're evolving like a caterpillar evolving into a butterfly. Okay. You need to go through the things. You need to believe it's possible. You need to behave as that person. When you're in this behaving phase, yeah, it's like you're in silence. You're getting no applause, but you just have that vision in your head and you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it. And eventually you become it. It's like, I think a great analogy actually is, like trying to start a fire with two sticks. Okay. I just watched Castaway, the movie with Tom Hanks in there. There's a scene in there where he's like trying to start the fire for the longest time. Trying so hard. But when you're becoming this new person, it's like you're trying to start a fire and you're just rubbing the stick against the wood for so long and nothing's happening, right? That's like trying to do anything, build a business, build your social media, you're rubbing the stick, nothing's happening for the longest time. And then what happens? Okay, you start to see a little bit of smoke. You're like, oh my gosh, a little bit of smoke. Starting to heat up, a little bit of smoke. And you just keep going, right? You're doing it for hours. And then eventually, well, probably not hours if you're like a Boy Scout, you probably do it quicker, but I've never actually started a fire. But you do those things for hours, then boom, all of a sudden, massive fire in a second. And that's what happens with anything. That's hockey stick growth. It's like you're sitting there trying to start the fire for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, boom, it just lights up. And that's what it is. And you become that person. Same thing with whoever you're trying to become. You want to grow on social media. You want to build a business. You want to get healthy. You want to have a relationship. You want to have good friends. You want to do this, whatever you want to do, right? You got to start. You got to behave as that person before your results come. Then you become, right? And there's this gap. So it's called the gap of becoming that Joe Dispenza talks about. While doing, got a comment here. While doing work, anxious thoughts came in. I'm gonna pull this up. While doing work, anxious thoughts came. It says that you were already late in life. Now you can't do anything. Wish I could understand what that was saying. Yeah, I wish you could, if you could reword that. I don't know what that's saying. While doing work, anxious thoughts came in that say that you are already late in life. Now you can't do anything. Okay, so it's actually a good example. I think that's what it's saying. It's saying while doing some work, these anxious thoughts are coming in, saying you're already late in life, and now you can't do anything. You're too late in your life. Well, okay, those are your anxious thoughts. So we need to identify basically where does that, because you have basically an underlying belief that you're too late in life, or you picked up a belief somewhere along the way that once you reach a certain age that you're unable to create, you're too late in life. So we need to identify where did that belief come from, right? Let's use the framework, right? So first of all, it's the awareness that this thought comes in, that's too late to become who I want to become. Question it, is that true? It's too late to become is it too late? Is it ever too late? I don't know, right? I don't know if it's ever too late. Well, the answer is it never is, but yeah, it's like if you want to change, you can change today. You can change tomorrow, right? It's like every single moment is an opportunity to change. So it's obviously an erroneous belief. So you question it, and then you collect counter evidence. Well, what was an instance in your life where maybe, you did take steps towards becoming who you wanted to become? That was recent, right? And start to build that counter evidence and reframe it. Well, it's not too late. I just need to get started today, right? I'm taking the steps every single day to become the best version of myself. I'm taking the steps every single day to become the best version of myself. For TikTok, I'm on YouTube right now, so I'm looking at a comment here. But yeah, someone's just talking about anxious thoughts coming in, being like they're too late in their life to change who they're becoming. And it's like, okay, well, that's just a limiting belief that you picked up from somewhere, because it's absolutely not true. You hear all the time. There's countless studies. People are like dead broke at like whatever, 55, 50, 55, 60, 65. Like it doesn't matter how old you are at all. Right? You can choose to change today. And if you put in consistent effort, just for even a couple of months, you can significantly change your life, right? Doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. So that's a prime example. If anyone else has any limiting beliefs they want to drop, by the way, this is meant to be interactive. So if you guys have comments about, we're talking about beliefs, are there any beliefs that have been coming up for you? Beliefs that you feel like are holding you back? We can talk through right now, kind of reframe it, right? Like what is the belief that you've been dealing with? Right? Let's put the awareness on it. Let's question it. Let's collect counter evidence, and let's reframe it and reinforce it. We can do that in real time here. But the gap of becoming, like I was saying with Joe Dispenza, so the gap of becoming is you are this person, okay? And in your mind, you're this person in your mind, but the external world hasn't caught up yet. So you need to act in accordance with this new version of yourself long enough for the external world to catch up. And that's it. That's the gap of becoming. Because the second that you decide you are something in your mind at the energetic level, the quantum level, you are that person. That's it. Just stay there. Keep doing that thing and wait for the external world to catch up to you. You got to wait. That's the gap of becoming. So that's what we're doing. And then I am statements are a huge thing. Like I am is the creative force of the universe. It's the creative words of the universe. I am blank, right? It's kind of a difficult thing to wrap your head around. It can be. But yeah, the I am. There's a lot of books on it. Like there's the I Am the Word by Paul Senig or something. It's a good one, but everyone talks about it. Neville Goddard, Bob Proctor. It's like I am happy. I am sad, right? The I am is the creative part of whatever comes after I am is what you're basically creating. So using I am statements like affirmations, I am powerful. I am at peace. I am building my life. I am doing the things that put me in the best position to succeed. Reprogram your subconscious mind. Again, to reprogram the subconscious, it's like drops in the bucket, drop in the bucket, drop in the bucket, drop in the bucket. So you got to consciously do these things through the power of auto-suggestion, like Napoleon Hill would say, and Think and Grow Rich. The power of auto-suggestion is just continually saying these things. You program your subconscious mind with new beliefs. But I am statements, you got to feel them. You got to believe they're true. Now, a lot of times people say, oh, I am statements are garbage. Like these don't mean anything. They're not real. And that's okay. At first, you might think that they are not anything, and that's fine. But if you keep saying something long enough, you'll start to believe it. It's like actors who they play a role. Like you want to be the Grinch. And in order to play the Grinch in this movie, you like truly believe you're the Grinch in real life. You act like this person. And if you act like the Grinch long enough in real life, you actually believe you are the Grinch, and you forget that you're actually Jake or whoever you are. Right? I mean, you see that with like Heath Ledger in The Joker. He ended up killing himself because he he was just so into the character of the Joker, he forgot who he even was. That just shows you in and of itself. So with these I am statements, as you're reprogramming, you can, it doesn't matter if you don't believe it at first, just write them down. I am powerful. I am going to make a lot of money. I am going to be healthy. Or not going to be, sorry. You want to do it in the present tense. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am whatever. And just carry those things around with you. Put them in your pocket. Put it on a note card, just so you can remind yourself every single day. The more you're conscious about this new version of yourself, the quicker you're going to reprogram your subconscious mind. That is it, folks. I thought that was going to be a quick one, but I should know myself that I'm going to talk. TikTok, appreciate y'all. Had a lot of people join in. This is great. A lot of people joined in. TikTok, amazing. So I'm going live every Saturday at 11 a.m. Next Saturday, we got my good friend Gordon Thornton coming on. And we're going to talk about the inner work. That's what we're going to talk about, which is all this stuff that I'm talking about. But Gordon he's on a similar path as me. He did real estate. I mean, he's been in real estate for a couple of decades, but then he, had this awakening and realized that it was about the inner work. And so we'll talk about that. It's the first time I'll be bringing someone on and asking them questions about builds. So I'll ask him some questions about each pillar and kind of see how he's doing the things, right? Breaking his limiting beliefs, upgrading his operating system, how he's imagining and visualizing his future, how he's letting go of the past and his old self, and how he is transcending into the next version of himself. So again, Built for Impact is the framework that's going to change your life. That's it. It's going to reprogram your identity so you can build a life of peace instead of pressure. We're going to keep going. If you haven't checked out the podcast, definitely go ahead and do that. I've had that banner going across all stream. Built for Impact podcasts episodes every Monday. So you can get that on Spotify, Apple, or it's on YouTube here as well. If you get any value out of that whatsoever, I would really appreciate a review, just to helps give it credibility. And, when people go into that podcast for the first time, it helps to see a lot of reviews on that other people got value on it, because, and only do it if it feels genuine. If you genuinely feel like it's valuable and you want to leave it, I would appreciate it. If it didn't align with you, that's completely fine. I would appreciate that. Check out the pod. And yeah, until next time, all the peace, all the power.